Good morning and welcome to the Pleasure for Health podcast, where you can ask me, Elsa Kepi, any questions about pleasure and relationships. So today we are going to jump into the topic of relaxation and tension and how this can contribute or change our experience of pleasure. I think this is a great topic, particularly to talk about because personally, I also teach exercise classes and I'm a massage therapist as well as a body worker in my practice of somatic sex education. So I really do find that this idea of tension is and relaxation is super important to our ability to feel pleasure. So let's dive in. First of all, I'd just like to say that for the most part, many of us naturally learn to feel pleasure and to orgasm, to have those types of sensations by tensing up our muscles. And sometimes even that can cause those type of pleasurable sensations. By tensing your muscles, you feel alive, you feel connected, you feel that sort of pleasure sensation. And it could be, in your genitals, but it can also be anywhere else in your body. It kind of feels good to use our muscles, to tense our muscles up, and to feel like we're, kind of connected to that efforting part of ourselves. And so this, becomes interesting to look at when people like going to the gym, or when people like working out, or when people just kind of, you feel that kind of aliveness. You're like, and you just kind of tense, you make fists, you feel good. This is a big part of how we connect and energetically get our tissues to come alive and to actually transmit energy through them. So how does relaxation fit into this whole dynamic then? So this is where we get into the interesting opposition of this, is that when we can fully relax, and relaxation is a learned thing. I don't actually just mean flop around as if you were, had too many drinks on a Friday night, although that could also be considered relaxation. But relaxation is a conscious letting go, so that we actually can allow a different type of connection, a much more, it's kind of a quieter, inward, meditative connection to ourselves in relaxation. And it's kind of like if you were doing a yoga class and you spend 45, 50 minutes working all of these poses, and you're working hard and you're using your muscles, and then the end goal, or the final pose, is shavasana, the corpse pose, where you lie down and you surrender, you relax, and you allow yourself to be fully present, but relaxing, not putting any effort, actually letting go and allowing. So this is like the reverse of the rest of your yoga practice in a way, in that you're learning how to relax. And I find that, for helping people really become aware of their body, this ability to feel not only tension but also relaxation is really important. Now, when you're doing an exercise or moving your body, sometimes we are set up in the sense that our muscles on one aspect, like let's say your biceps and triceps, most people know where those are on your arm. If you tense your biceps, your triceps on the opposite side of your arm have to relax, right? They neurologically are connected and wired up to relax when we tense our biceps, because our arm won't bend if we just tense both our biceps and triceps. We're just kind of rigid. So if our wiring is set up so that tensing one set of muscles will often relax another set of muscles. Now, tensing all of the muscles, like potentially when you're, trying to achieve orgasm, and let's say you tense your pelvis and your legs, and you're just trying to, your abdominals, you tense everything. What is there left to relax, and is that important? So it's interesting when I work with clients. Often, the tension is good up to a point. Isn't that the kind of the lesson of life, really? Up to a point, tension can help bring aliveness, it can bring connection, it can bring sensation to whatever area we're trying to feel. If it's your genitals, then it'll bring sensation there. And you can bring a real sense of aliveness and arousal there. But at a certain point, too much tension blocks any flow of energy or blocks anything from releasing. So we actually need to balance that with the relaxation. So taking deeper breaths and actually consciously relaxing everything and allowing blood flow, allowing energy flow, allowing the fascia to relax and allow the connection of our different tissues to come online. And this actually allows a more full body, a more global experience of something like orgasm, where you're actually having this tension relaxation very quickly back and forth. Your body's actually kind of coming to that level. You actually need to have very pliable, relaxed, and in shape muscles. You don't want just tense muscles that are just tense and never do anything else. It's kind of like having like a really stretched rubber band, and when it's really stretched out, it doesn't do much, right? You can't stretch it further, and it doesn't really, if you pluck on a really strung out rubber band, often it just breaks. It doesn't actually give you any more elasticity. It doesn't contract and expand. So, you want a nice, relaxed, but nicely healthy rubber band, right? You want that in your body. You want that in your muscles. So when you're doing yoga or you're doing, intimate relating, either way, you want to have this ability to go between different states of relaxation and tension without being stuck in one end or the other. If you're relaxed and you're able to be really relaxed but you can't actually find any tension, which some people do have a problem with having kind of no, what do you call it nowadays, maybe gumption. They have no kind of will to kind of get involved, and they're depressed. Many people like this are depressed, and this could come from over stimulation for sure, like in a fight flight kind of exhaustion. You could get depressed, like you have no energy left to work. Like even if you tried to tense up your muscles, there's nothing there. Your tank is empty. So you definitely need to have an ability to come out of, overwhelm, out of this fight or flight, tense up, place, and out of this overwhelmed, overwrought, you know, kind of collapsed state. You need to actually be able to use muscles, and then you need to be able to relax. And I believe that many of us are looking for this in our, in our exercise classes, in our hobbies. And our culture is so much so, more is better, do more, sleep less, do it harder, do it faster, do it with more weight, do it with, it's like, it's winding us up, if you will, in the sense that we are just strung out. We're either really tense and not able to relax at all, or we, collapse into the state of inability to actually use our muscles or our energy and get it going. Both of which are not very helpful when it comes to feeling pleasure and arousal, because again, we're needing this back and forth kind of experience. So I've found personally in my own practice, and also part of the reason that I've created a wellness center where we're not only working on pleasure and, sex education, we're working on yoga, we're working on functional movement, we're working on learning how to relax and how to have tension, how to bring connection to different parts of our body, how to, come for body work. We do all of these aspects of wellness so that when it comes to that, that moment when you really want to be able to feel pleasure with yourself or a partner, you have a body that's able to respond. And I guess I would say respond is a really great word as well in what we're saying. We want a responsive body. We want a body that can respond and tense up when it needs to, and a body that can relax when it needs to, and a body that can be available to go back and forth, which will give us the most pleasure. So the waves of pleasure that you might feel, whether it's going for a run or or doing yoga or in shavasana or having sex, any pleasure that you're feeling is this ability to, bring tension and relaxation in kind of equal measure back and forth. And, it's interesting that um, Ben Shapiro did some studies on pleasure, and it was this moving back and forth from, he actually looked at the idea of curling. So you could say curling your fingers into a fist or opening your hands. And you could just try that as you're listening if you like. Curl your fingers in and then open your fingers out. And as you go back and forth, what he was saying was that the pleasure is not in the curling in and tense into a fist place, or conversely, it's not in the completely open, stretched phase. It's actually in the moving back and forth. It's in the flow from curling to opening to curling to opening. That's the pleasure right there. And, when I start out with some clients that really have a hard time with this muscular tension, they've either spent a long lifetime, getting way too much tension in their pelvic floor, particularly. So they have no ability to relax and tense. So, therefore they have a difficulty in orgasm usually. And for men, often a difficulty in achieving arousal or an erection, because there's no ability to relax and allow the flow to come in. So moving between relaxation and tension, opening and closing the fingers, just moving with that. That's often very interesting for people to start working with, because it's a very visual. We're used to using our hands. It's easy to notice. You can try it with your toes, opening and curling your toes can give you really a sense of stretching, releasing, relaxing, and then curling and tightening your feet. And as you become more aware of different aspects of your body that can do this particular flow, then we find that we can actually find that in our pelvic floor. We can, and many people will advocate doing exercises of both contracting and relaxing the pelvic floor, so that you're finding the tension, but you're also finding the relaxation. We don't want to go around just clutching, hanging on for dear life with our fingers and toes or any other part of our body. We want to have this flow in between tension and relaxation for pleasure to really manifest in our lives. And, you could take this into many other realms, the mental realm or psychological aspects. If we're always stuck on one track and we just can't let go of something, we get the same feeling in our mind. And when we can kind of sort of phase out and pull out to a wide lens, if you will, and look at the world, from above or just with a wider view, we find that then we can narrow in and we can focus and we can come to a wider view. And it's that going back and forth in our mind as well that will give us that sense of everything is okay. We can focus, we can get, specific work done or specific things we can pay attention to, and then we can pull out and see more of the gestalt, the whole aspect of what is in front of us or around us, and we go back and forth. So really, it is always one of my great things that I really hold on to as well. Maybe hold on to too much, but hold on to this idea that, pulling back and seeing the big picture and then focusing and getting really specific and pulling back, same as in the body. So the mind and the body are so similar. And when we have an issue in our body, in our physical body with this tension and relaxation, we often have a similar issue with our mental capacity to, expand and contract and take in the world in different ways. So see what you think of all of this idea, and maybe practice it a little bit if you have some time today, even just curling your fingers into a fist and then opening them up, and just notice that it actually feels good, the moving in between those two extremes, rather than holding one extreme or the other indefinitely. So it's the moving in and out, which is exactly, in my experience, what orgasm is moving in and out of that tension. Relaxation is what really brings pleasure. And practicing purposely practicing and your whole body being able to do that, I believe will help to expand that feeling of pleasure. And so it won't just be a tense focus in the genitals or in the pelvis. You can expand that relaxation, contraction, relaxation, pulsation throughout your entire body. And that is really, where you get a much larger experience during orgasm than you might if you're just keeping it very contained within the pelvis. And, nothing's right or wrong particularly, but if you would like to explore that, let me know how it goes. If you have other questions or topics you'd like me to consider, please do comment or check out my website, pleasureforhealth.com, and send me a message. What would you like to hear me talk about? I would love to hear from you. And I look forward to talking to you all soon. It's Ilse from Pleasure for Health signing out. Have a great Sunday.